Hi friends, I welcome you all to my YouTube channel Research Updates. This is my first video posted in YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about impact factor. Let us see the overview of the presentation. First, I'll start with some basic terminologies that is commonly used in journal metrics. Then we'll see what is an impact factor, how it is calculated, impact factor of a journal as well as impact factor of an individual researcher, and then move on to the Web of Science and journal citation report, followed by Scopus with Schemago journal ranking, SiteScore source normalized impact factor SNP. Finally, we will see the key difference between impact factor and SiteScore and end up with the main facts that you have to remember for impact factor. First, we'll start with the basic terminologies. These are the basic terminologies which is commonly used in journal metrics. Database. What is database? Database is a collection of records, articles published in a particular field. For example, Web of Science, Scopus, Google Scholar, PubMed are all called as databases. Citation. Entries in a list of reference at the end of an article or a chapter or a book, etc. is called citation. And next is impact factor. Impact factor is a metric for measuring journal's impact in Web of Science, whereas SiteScore is a metric for measuring journal impact in Scopus. So impact factor goes with Web of Science, SiteScore goes with Scopus. Journal citation rank, shortly we call it as JCR. Journal ranks making use of data supplied by the Web of Science, whereas Schemago journal rank, shortly we call it as SJR, journal rank making use of data supplied by the Scopus. SNP, source normalized impact per paper. It's a field normalized assessment of journal impact, or it's a set of publication citing that journal. So with these common basic terminologies, we'll start with impact factor. What is impact factor? It is a bibliometric indicator which measures the relevance, importance, or visibility in terms of citation of scientific journals. So how this impact factor is calculated? It is calculated as follows: total number of papers cited in the previous 2 years by the total number of articles published in these previous 2 years. So number of papers cited currently to the articles published in the previous 2 years to the total number of articles published in the previous 2 years. So that is how the impact factor is calculated. Later on in the other slides, I'll briefly explain with an example how this impact factor is calculated. How this impact factor has come into picture. This impact factor was devised by Eugene Garfield, the founder of Institute for Scientific Information, ISI. Impact factors are calculated yearly starting from 1975 for journals listed in the journal citation reports. Institute for Scientific Information was acquired by Thomson Scientific and Healthcare in 1992, and thus it has become as Thomson Institute for Scientific Information, Thomson ISI. Later on, in 2016, Thomson ISI was sold to Onex Corporation and Baring Private Equity Asia. They founded a new corporation called as Clarivate, and this Clarivate is now the publisher of Journal Citation Report. So finally, it has come into the hands of Clarivate analyst who publishes the Journal Citation Report. And next we'll see about this Web of Science database. As we saw in the previous slide, it's originally produced by the Institute for Scientific Information owned by Thomson Reuters earlier, later sold to Clarivate Analytics in 2016. And this Web of Science database is also known as Web of Knowledge. It has multidisciplinary citation index, which includes Science Citation Index SCI, Social Science Citation Index SSCI, Arts and Humanities Citation Index AHCI. So these are the multidisciplinary citation index that is included in Web of Science database. And this database is most prestigious and reputable one. It has a strict inclusion criteria for the journals. Only fewer journals and conferences were included in this database when compared to that of Scopus. And let us see why this impact factor is important. This impact factor is a quantitative indicator for the importance of the journal. It serves both reader as well as the author. On the reader's perspective, he will analyze with the impact factor for which journal he should select to read. Whereas in case of author, the author will be analyzing the impact factor of a journal for which journal he has to submit his research paper. So it has both the perspectives, reader as well as the author. And now let us see with an example how this impact factor is calculated. First we'll see about this journal impact factor. The journal impact factor of a current year. For example, in 2020, it is calculated using the formula citations in 2020 to the articles published in a particular journal in the previous 2 years, that is 2019 and 18, divided by total number of articles published in a particular journal in 2019 and 2018. So this is how the journal impact factor is calculated. Whereas an individual researcher's impact factor is also calculated similarly. So the citations in the current year, that is 2020, to the articles you publish in the previous 2 years, 2019 and 2018, divided by total number of articles you published in 2019 and 2018. So that is how the journal impact factor as well as the individual researcher impact factor is calculated. To put it in a simple format, so the impact factor, 1 year reference period is taken and the previous 2 years citation window is counted. So citation of 2020 includes the papers which is published in 2018 as well as 2019. For example, suppose the journal has published 32 papers and 36 papers in 2018 and 2019 respectively, and these source items of the publications have received respectively 40 and 28 citations in 2020. So the impact factor of the particular journal will be as follows. So it has to be added up, then citations of 2018 and 2019 is 40 plus 28 divided by the total number of articles published, 32 plus 36. So totally it comes to 68 divided by 68. So the calculated impact factor is 1. So this is how the impact factor is calculated. Hope I have made it simple. So the journal impact factor is calculated for the current year with the citations of the articles which is published in the previous 2 years to the total number of articles published in the previous 2 years. Now we'll see about this journal citation report. This journal citation reports is owned by Clarivate Analytics. Previously it was with Thomson Reuters. Now it has come to Clarivate Analytics. They publish this journal citation reports. Provides citation metrics and analytics for journals indexed in Web of Science. So journal citation report is pertaining to journals indexed in Web of Science. Groups journals into various subject categories and it gives a ranking by impact factor. And please remember, only ISI journals have the impact factor, which is given by Clarivate Analytics. Uses citation data for at least 2 years in calculating impact factor and H index. So this we have already seen how they calculate the impact factor, number of citation in the last 2 years to the number of publications published in the last 2 years. So that is how it is simplified for the impact factor. This journal citation report provides quantitative tools for ranking, evaluating, categorizing, and comparing journals. The impact factor is one of these tools, derived using citation data in the Science Citation Index and the Social Science Citation Index. It helps to determine a publication's impact and influence in the global research community, and this journal citation report is widely accepted and used. Journal citation report ranks journal in tiers. Impact factor for each journal is calculated as we saw earlier. Journals in a specific subject categories are arranged according to the descending order of impact factor. They are divided equally into 4 quartiles. Quartile 1, Q1, quartile 2, quartile 3 and quartile 4. Quartile 1 includes the top impactful journals, 25% journals or papers. Quartile 2, less impactful, 25% of journals or papers. Q3, quartile 3, lesser impactful, 25% journals or papers. And quartile 4, bottom impactful, 25% journals or paper. So that is how the ranking is given depending on the impact factor in journal citation report for all the journals as well as the papers published. Where to find this impact factor? The journal citation report can also be accessed via the Web of Science database. So what you have to do is you have to click the journal citation report at the top of the Web of Science homepage, and you can search for a specific journal, view all journals or view a group of journals with a common subject area, publisher or geographic area. This journal impact factor is published annually, either in the month of September or October of the following year in the journal citation report. So here you can see the screenshot of the journal citation report of a particular journal in 2018 and 2019. Always remember, the impact factor of current year will be actually published only in the next year. For example, the impact factor of 2020 will be actually published in 2021 because it could not be calculated until all the 2020 publications had been received. Impact factor of 2021 will be published in the next year, 2022. So this is how it goes. So every year the impact factor will be calculated only in the next consecutive years. An impact factor of 1 means that on average the article published 1 or 2 years ago have been cited one time. So that is how the impact factor is given. So we have just seen about the impact factor, Web of Science, journal citation, JCR, and now we move on to the Scopus. Scopus is also a database which is owned by Elsevier. It's the largest abstract citation database. It has journal search, abstracts, full text, author profile, citation data, and various metrics. It has more journals than the Web of Science. It is subscription based, but preview version is free limited. And now we'll see about Schemago journal rank and country rank. So the Scopus gives us Schemago journal rank and the country rank owned by Elsevier. It provides a citation metrics and analytics for journals, countries, subject as well as institution. It is a much larger database than the journal citation report. Ranks journals into tiers using Schemago journal rank. Also, it uses H-index, CiteScore, source normalized impact per paper. Scopus metrics use 3 years citation. We have seen earlier the Web of Science. The impact factor is calculated using the 2 years citation data. Whereas here for Scopus, the metrics they use 3 years citation data. How this Schemago journal ranks is calculated. It is calculated using the formula citation to journal to the number of documents published. So it is considered the prestige and the quality of the journal, citing journals. The prestige is determined by the number of citations. So depending on the number of citations and the impact, this ranking is given for all the journals. Here also the journal ranking goes with quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3 and quartile 4. You can see here the Schemago journal page screenshot where it gives you all the details of the ranking and it gives the details of the total documents, total reference, total sites in the web page. And next we'll see what is CiteScore. This CiteScore is similar to Journal Citation Report's impact factor. It is calculated by number of citations received by a journal in present year from 3 previous years to the number of documents published in the same 3 years. For suppose, citations in 2015 of the previous 3-year documents or the articles is counted to the total number of documents published in the same 3 years. So here you can see in 2015 the citations are counted for all the articles which is published from 2012 to 2014, and also the total number of articles published from 2012 to 2014 is also counted, and it is applied to the formula total number of citations in the previous 3 years divided by the total number of documents published in the previous 3 years. So that is how it's calculated. So here Scopus we use the terminology as, instead of impact factor we use the terminology as CiteScore. Impact factor is used in Web of Science, CiteScore is used in Scopus. So this is how CiteScore is calculated. When you see the CiteScore metrics are a family of 8 indicators which include CiteScore, CiteScore tracker, CiteScore percentile, CiteScore quartiles, CiteScore rank, citation count, document count, and percentage cited. Out of this CiteScore tracker, it provides a current review of how a journal is performing during the course of the year. It is updated every month. Whereas CiteScore percentile indicates how a journal ranks relatively to other journals in the same subject field. And what is SNP? Source Normalized Impact per Paper. This SNP is calculated using the formula citation count per paper divided by citation potential in the subject field. It helps to compare journals in the same subject field. It also allows direct comparison of journals in different subject field. So when you open a Scopus database, the Scopus database in journal search, you can find all the details at the right corner of the journal details. CiteScore, ranking, Schemago, journal ranking, and source normalized impact factor. And now finally we'll see the key difference between the impact factor and the CiteScore. To just put it in a nutshell, for CiteScore, citation received for the current year for the documents published in the previous 3 years is taken into count. Whereas for the impact factor, citation received for the current year of the articles which is published in the previous 2 years is calculated. That is the main difference between CiteScore and impact factor. CiteScore is calculated from the Scopus database, whereas impact factor is calculated from the Web of Science. The documents which is included in the CiteScore are articles, reviews, letters, notes, editorials, conference papers, etc. Whereas in Web of Science, only the articles and reviews are included. So this is all the main difference between the impact factor and the CiteScore. We have come finally to the summary table. So these are the important facts you have to remember. When you see the database, we have the two important database, well-known reputed databases. One is Web of Science, the other one is a Scopus. Web of Science is owned by Clarivate Analytics, whereas the Scopus is owned by Elsevier. The metrics given by the Web of Science, we call it as impact factor, whereas Scopus gives CiteScore. So we should not get confused between the impact factor and the CiteScore. Actually, they both are different. Impact factor is given by the Clarivate analysis, whereas the CiteScore is given by the Scopus. In Web of Science, citations is calculated for the previous 2 years, whereas in Scopus, the citation is calculated for the previous 3 years. In Web of Science, the citable documents are articles and reviews only included, whereas in Scopus, articles, reviews, letters, editorial, conference papers, etc. all were counted for the citation. Web of Science gives a journal citation report which has the 4 quartiles, JCR, whereas the Schemago journal rank SJR is given by the Scopus. So the entire video, what we saw is just put in a nutshell. So remember, Web of Science and the Scopus, impact factor given by the Web of Science, whereas the CiteScore is given by the Scopus. Web of Science calculates only the 2 previous year citations, whereas the Scopus calculates the previous 3 years citations. The journal ranking for Web of Science is given by the journal citation report, whereas for the Scopus it is given by the Schemago journal rank. Both gives 4 quartile ranks. So this is the important facts which you have to remember regarding to impact factor. In the next video, I'll demonstrate you how to go to Web of Science and the journal citation report for finding out a journal. Similarly, in the Scopus, we'll see how to go to the Scopus website and check out the Schemago journal ranking and the CiteScore. Thank you all so much for watching my video. Never miss my video. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you all. See you in the next video. Bye.